Good afternoon, Dylan with Huntsville Guns. Hanging out today, I got a phone call from a friend of mine who does some construction work for a living, and called me and said that he was at a customer's house and cleaning some stuff out for the customer and found a gun in the attic of the house. Customer said she didn't want it. She didn't want it in the attic anymore, and so gave it to this buddy of mine. And he called me. He said, "Hey man, I'm not entirely sure what this thing is that I have, but it's in pretty rough shape. Do you mind if I drop it off and you take a look at it for me?" I said, "Sure." Friend of mine. We have done plenty of gun business together in the past, and I always like a good project, especially something that needs to be cleaned. And so when he walked through the door of the shop, I was a bit surprised to find what it was that he had brought to me. I am a big fan of Milsurp rifles. There's a huge community, and there are tons of them in circulation, but I have found over the last couple of years that there's no shortage of things that I don't know about, and this is in that category. This is a military surplus firearm that was converted commercially into a shotgun. And so what we have is a Mauser Action. This is a Gewehr 98 Action that was converted post-World War I in Germany to a shotgun. You can see shotgun barrel on the front here. The rifle came in an original Mauser stock that has been converted for use with the shotgun. It's been shortened and rounded, and the barrel channel opened up. And then there's also pretty significant magazine conversion, as well as a crossbolt modification. The gun is actually in really rough shape. It's pretty rusty. But you can see some of the original finish here where it was under the wood. It is missing a bead on the front. I am assuming that in the conversion process, this groove was ground into the top of the receiver ring in order to use a bead sight with it, as well as this brass deflector, I'm assuming. This was the first indicator for me as to what it was. But you can also see on the bottom of the receiver here that there is some additional metal. This is what I would assume is a magazine stop, since the feed lips on the inside of the receiver have been opened up significantly for use with the shotgun shell. This would be a spring here and then a piece of steel to serve as a magazine stop when you pull it all the way to the rear. The bolt activates the bottom of this metal portion, allowing the next round to pop up into the chamber, I'm assuming. I did some quick online research. There's not a lot of information about these that is factual. I do know that one of the Mauser books I have, and I don't remember which one, has some information on shotgun conversions. So my first step is to get this thing disassembled. The bolt is actually pretty locked up in the action. And so I am going to let this one soak overnight in some penetrating oil and see if that gets it loosened up. Get it blown apart into its pieces, figure out what is here and what's missing, and then do a little research online on information. I was just looking, kind of giving a good once over. Here on the stock, there is a label that says Hard Hit Heart, Heart, and that is one of the conversions that I did find a little bit of information about online. So to my understanding, post-World War I, Germany was in a bit of hot water, and part of the Treaty of Versailles was a requirement that they downsize their military and reduce their arsenals. And so in an effort to not scrap a bunch of firearms, a few kind of innovative companies took military Mauser Actions and converted them into various shotgun calibers. The little bit of reading I did leads me to believe that these were available in 12 gauge, 10 gauge, possibly 16 gauge and 20 gauge. Like I said, I'm going to do a bit more reading to see if I can find some facts on it. I'm going to get this guy torn apart over the next couple of days and hopefully cleaned up I haven't decided. I need to have a conversation with a buddy of mine and see how much time and effort he wants to put into this. Personal curiosity, I'm probably going to do the majority of the labor on this one for free for him, just so I can learn a bit more about it. But have a conversation with him to see what he wants to do with it in the long run. I'd like to see it put back together and functional. That's assuming that the inside of the bore isn't destroyed and that it's not rusted beyond repair. But just a quick intro video for y'all, something that I haven't seen before in the profession of gunsmithing. And I figure there's probably not a lot of videos about them out there. So I think what we will do, I will get some permission from him, have a conversation, and then maybe we will do a deconstruction video covering how it comes apart and goes back together, but also some of the differences between it and a regular Gewehr 98. And then maybe a little bit of gunsmithing and the cleanup. The stock is split in several places. Like I said, this lived in an attic here in East Texas, which is not the most friendly environment for wood stuff. And so there are several breaks that need to be addressed. So I'm going to have a conversation with him, make sure that he's okay with it, and then probably grab some good content for y'all. This is in that category of things that YouTube is a bit restrictive on, and so I don't know how deep down the rabbit hole we will go. I don't know that I'll show any machining or making of parts, but I'd definitely like to do a disassembly and reassembly if I can. And then just a quick look at all of the internals. There are some definite design changes and differences between this and a factory Mauser. Just a quick video. Like I said, gonna do some hanging out with the kids this afternoon. I'm closing the shop up here in a few minutes. Wanted to cover something that came through the door that I found interesting. Thanks for hanging out. Y'all have a great weekend. Curveball. Spent a little more time before I finished up for the day. Did a little more soaking and a little bit of working, and I have what appears to be a functioning Gewehr 98 shotgun conversion. It is definitely not like new. It's pretty filthy. Every time I touch it, more rust comes off, and the stock is on the very dry side. It needs some attention. But a little bit of love and some attention. The striker was kind of seized in the bolt body, and so I soaked it in a little ATF and acetone mix, applied just a little bit of heat, and got it to loosen up to where it now functions. In reading, I read that the bolt head for this conversion, you can see here, is the part that is often missing, and this one has a bolt head in it. I also, after I got it open, could confirm that it was clear other than just looking down the bore with a camera. But it is definitely not a 12 gauge. It is probably a 16 or a 20, and I somehow don't have any of those shells here in the shop to check it against. It's missing a few screws. The set screws for the action screws in the bottom are missing. The cross bolt through the stock was damaged. Somebody tried to modify it at one point, it looks like, and the recoil of firing has damaged it. I think that's what led to my stock damage here. The sight is missing off of the front. It looks like somebody probably tried to braze something on there at some point. I can't see a threaded hole on the inside of the barrel, but I am gonna do a little more research, a little more digging. I did find the word Germany stamped here on the side of the receiver, and in front of that, up here at the stock line on the barrel, the word nitro and some proof marks. It would appear that it has a Waffen amp, maybe, somebody correct me on the pronunciation, or some form of German proof mark on there. I need to do a little more research once I get it cleaned up. But just a quick update to the earlier segment. I am incredibly curious if you have any knowledge on these. Like I said, I'm going to do some digging and some looking through some of the books that I have and some resource material. But if you have any knowledge or any source data, not something that you heard or something that you read on the internet, but something that I can reference in future videos, please send that my way. My email is dylan.huntsvilleguns@gmail.com. I'd love to know if you know more about these things. They're incredibly fascinating to me. Kind of a very niche side of the gun world, but it's not something that I have a ton of experience with, and I'd like to learn a little more about it. Like I said, just an update. I'm going to call my buddy in the morning and see what he wants to do with it, clean it up and make it functional, or make it a wall hanger, or whatever it is. It's ultimately up to him. But I will keep y'all in the loop along the way. Thanks for hanging out. Have a great evening.